Hello and welcome to another video. This is episode 43 of the podcast, and I'm about to go on holiday in 2 days. No, tomorrow actually. This is the last podcast episode before I go on holiday, but if everything goes well, this video will go live by the time that I've already returned. In any case, let's get right into it. Ta-da! I finished the Norma sweater by my favorite things, knitwear. It has been knit, seamed, blocked, so I don't have to do anything else, and I am so happy with this one right now. Actually, I think that this is my favorite sweater at the moment. I just think it's very comfortable. I really like the yarn. It's a bit more scratchy than I had expected from my experience knitting with it, but it's nothing that is making me uncomfortable. I'm wearing this against my bare skin and it's fine. So very, very content with this project. So I'm not going to run down through everything. I'm just going to give the information on the yarn and that's about it. So I used Viking Eco Highland wool, which is 100% merino wool. It's a DK weight yarn, 110 meters per 50 grams. And the colors that I used were 212 parelgrijs, 244 gebrande oranje, which is the orange, and then the dark blue is 226 marinier. I knit up the first size, but I made quite a bit of adjustments here and there. So the sleeves are thinner and I took about 10 centimeters from the body and took a couple of centimeters, I think about 5 or 6 from the armhole depth. So there's that. Another quick update on the Inge sweater by Le Knit. I'm still working on the body. I've made a bit of progress, but the problem is that I have ran out of the light purple color. The moment that I realized that I definitely did not have enough yarn because I wasn't too sure the last episode or in between the episode, because I measured the yarn that I had left of the light purple and then I knit one whole motif here. And that took up more than half of the ball and I still needed 2 more to knit. But the moment that I realized that, it was too late to get the yarn before I would leave. So I have to put this project on hold and work on it once I'm back. So the one thing that I did want to say about this, I'm not going through all of the specifics, but I actually blocked this already and I absolutely love how this came out. So I used a different blocking technique from what I usually do. Generally, I'll just dump the entire project in a bucket of water mixed with a tiny bit of wool wash. I'll leave it in there for maybe 15 minutes to really soak up all of the water, and then afterwards, I'll take a towel and I'll roll it up and then I'll stamp on it with either my feet or my hands to get out all of the water, or at least as much as I can, and then I'll lay it out to dry. The only problem with that, well, not really a problem, but the downside of that is that it takes quite a bit of time for it to dry. On average, it takes about a day to completely dry, and so that means that I just can't work on it for the next 24 hours. But this blocking technique, however, was way more efficient and kept my piece dry. I use an iron and a damp pressing cloth. My pressing cloth is just some random cotton, but yeah, I dampen the cloth and then I put it on top of my knit, and then I just take my iron and I'll move it around a bit and then use the steam function on it, and it just gives this really crisp finish to the piece, and your clothes are not wet at all. Well, slightly damp, but nothing that can't be worked on after maybe 3 or so minutes. It's really more so that it's quite hot once you're done pressing, and that's really the moment that you have to be a bit careful, because there's a bit of a risk of your work felting if you handle it too much. I'm so happy that I gave this technique a go, because I've seen it mentioned a lot in vintage knitting and crochet patterns, and it's my new favorite blocking technique. So I'm very happy with that. And I think that's all I have to say with regards to the Inge sweater. Moving on to the bikini top. This one I think I mentioned in the last episode or the one before, but it was this crochet bikini top that I found on Etsy, and I figured out where this is from. It's from Penguin, I think from one of their summer crochet books, but I haven't been able to locate the exact source. Now, the last time that I spoke about this project, I was using Eastex's Comb Garn, which is a sport weight yarn, I believe 100% wool, and I switched from fingering weight yarn to that yarn because I was having such a hard time trying to meet gauge. And I thought I met gauge, and I started working on the top, and it didn't work out. It's just so weird because the pattern, I believe, tells you to use a 3.25mm crochet hook with fingering weight yarn, but in order for me to meet gauge, I think I would have had to use maybe a 5.5mm crochet hook, and the fabric that would have produced would have just been so loose. There would be just holes. It would be a mesh bikini, because in the picture the stitches of the bikini seem to be quite close. So I was very confused with that. In any case, I used the comb garn and I thought I had met gauge. I started working on the top and I don't know what happened, but it seems that the gauge kind of shrunk when I was actually working on it, and it became too small, or the sizing was just not correct. Either way, it wasn't looking that great. So I ended up switching to some Drops Paris. This is a 100% cotton yarn with a yardage of 75 meters per 50 grams. So an Aran weight yarn, and I used the color orange, and I believe the hook size that I used was 3mm. In any case, this is how it turned out, and it actually fits. It looks good. I, to be honest, didn't really follow the pattern because it was a bit confusing, and I thought I would know enough to actually figure everything out on my own once I understood the way the shaping of the cup worked. So basically you start in a circle and then you do a number of double crochets whilst also making a group with 2 double crochets, 2 chains, and 2 double crochets again. And so every section, if you look closely, there are 3 sections here. Every section in between these groups, you skip the first double crochet and then you double crochet into every stitch on top. So that was kind of the formula of the bra. So once that was done, I did this lace section on top, mesh section I should say, just only on the top of the cup. This was also in the pattern, by the way. And then I crocheted the bottom for support basically. So it's 4 rows of, the lighting is a bit weird here. Yeah, so 4 rows of single crochet, and on the front side I crocheted in the back loop, and on the wrong side I crocheted in the front loop, and so you get this really cool looking single crochet piece section. Yeah, and once I did that, what else did I do? I made a flap thingy, kind of similar to what I did for my Japanese hairband a couple of episodes ago. I crocheted some single crochets. Yeah, some single crochets here to connect the 2 cups, and then I made these cords for the 2 for the back and 2 for the cups. I basically attached a chain here, and then I slip stitched back, and that's how I did these straps. In terms of getting the sizing right, I just tried constantly seeing if it looked any good. Yeah, it doesn't it doesn't really show here, but this actually fits me very well. I'll try maybe to add some footage here, maybe a picture or a tiny video clip so you can see how it looks. Is there anything else I wanted to say about this? Yeah, so now that I've made this one, I want to try and replicate the bikini from the picture. So I got some, well, I already had this color from Drops. I believe it's Wasabi. Yeah, the code is 39, and this is Marine Blue 28. So I thought these were kind of close to the pattern picture. So I'm going to try and see if I can make that bikini. I'm already confident that I can make the top because I've already done that, but the shorts are going to be a bit tricky. But I think that if I just hold another bikini bottom that I have against what I'm crocheting, I think that is going to solve most of my fit issues, so to speak. Moving on to another bikini. This one actually uses granny squares for the cup. Again, I'm using Drops Paris. Now, this is a vintage pattern from the 1970s. I think it's just called Granny Square Bikini. I got this on Etsy, and I eventually managed to find the source of this pattern. It's from Leisure Arts Great Grannies from 1975. And they actually re-released this pattern booklet, I believe a couple of years ago. So it's available online. I'll leave a link to a page that I found selling it. In any case, I am using Drops Paris again. I don't know in which colorways. I'll put them right here. And I used for this a 4.5mm crochet hook. The bikini is constructed mostly out of granny squares. So as you can see here, you do 2 rows of granny squares. Oh, yeah, 2 rows. And then you single crochet around it twice. And then you seam them all up together, and then you do 2 rows of single crochet again. Well, depending on your size. I believe this is the small, but I actually don't fit that one. I was having a ton of sizing issues here. So going off of the pattern, this was supposed to be a size M and was supposed to fit me. But, well, I wouldn't say clearly, but this would have been a bit too much, in my opinion. And so, yeah, and also it did not look on me how it looked on the model. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I used 2.5mm needles for this one. And look at the difference. Look at the difference 2mm does. It's massive. So now it actually fits me quite decent. So I just have to do one row of crochet and attach the other cup. I haven't finished doing the second one. I still have this granny square here that needs some purple yarn. So hopefully I'll be able to do that today. I don't think that I want to make it exactly like the pattern. I don't really think the ruffles are that pretty. And so I've been looking for another type of finishing stitch for the cup. I might do some blanket stitches with light purple. I'm not too sure, but I'll have to think about that for a minute. So there's that. Almost done with the top. As for the bottoms, I'm still working with that. I had crocheted all of my squares before trying stuff on because I thought, well, I met gauge and I know the measurements these pieces are supposed to fit. Didn't expect that this would happen. And so now I am trying to modify that and see if I can actually use the granny squares that I made. It seems that if I just try and crochet the size large, I would have to crochet one more granny square and then it would supposedly fit. At least it would fit my hip measurements. So I don't know, there's a lot of thinking that still has to go on, and I've just been busy packing and it's been a bit chaotic, and I realized once I started talking about this particular project that I had not written anything down, and so I'm kind of winging it and looking at the scarce notes that I have on my project page. In any case, I think I have given a bit of a basic picture of how that project is going. Now, moving on to another granny square project. This is going to be a granny square bag. This is a project I had mentioned in my summer crochet video. It looks like it's from Baldwin and Walker because the yarn that is suggested is their Ladyship Country double knitting yarn. I decided not to use that yarn. I decided to use an Aran weight yarn, actually again drops Paris. I have a lot of drops Paris because when I made that crochet waistcoat, it was a very nice experience working with the yarn and completely different from drops Muscat, and so I thought maybe it would be nice to work a bit longer with this particular yarn just to become a bit more comfortable when it comes to knitting and crocheting with cotton. So there's that. It's just very reliable for me at the moment. But yeah, since I'm using an Aran weight yarn instead of a double knitting one, it means that the bag is going to be a bit larger, but not that much. I'm using a smaller hook than recommended on the yarn band. I'm using a 2.5mm hook. So the colors are color number 8, 31 and 39, which is called Wasabi. So again, with the light purple and the dark purple, I just have a bunch of squares at the moment. Three different ones. I don't know where the third ones have gone. Oh, here they are. Yep, so I have these 3 colors or granny squares, and that's where I am at the moment. I'm going to try and weave in all of these ends today because I would like to start working on the lining right here. It's this very cute flower motif cloth that I bought when I was in Japan. At the time I didn't sew, but I thought, you know, maybe sometime in the future I'll use it. And so I'm very happy to use it. This cloth is actually the thing that inspired me to choose these colors. You have different types of purples and some green in here as well. Yes, so I would like to zigzag stitch the ends and make a lining that is double facing, if that makes any sense. I don't really know if that's a correct term, but just making sure that there's no wrong sides by folding it like this, so that the side where the squares are on, you can still see the motif through it slightly. As for the construction, I have to seam all these together in a certain pattern, and then I believe I have to work about 2 rows of double crochet around it, and that's the point when I have to sew the lining onto the piece. And after I've done that, what do I do then? Yes, I crochet the gusset. I have to crochet a gusset, then I'll have to close it and then join the 2 sides with single crochet, and then I'll have a flap here going like this. Then once that is done, I'll create this very thick cord using the dark purple color, and I'll sew it to the bag. I'm actually really excited to do that today. So there's that. Then the Venus top, that was a disaster in the last episode. A ton of people told me it looked really ugly, so I got the hint and I changed the colors. So this is how it's looking right now. I just went for a very safe option, not even 3 colors, just 2. So let me tell you a bit about the Venus top. It's a design from Lizard and Hook, and it uses double crochet, single crochet, and the post puff stitch to make this pentagon. I think this type of pentagon, or there's also a square version of this, has a particular name because I've seen a number of tutorials on how to make this on Pinterest. And yeah, I don't know exactly which hook size I used for this, but I'll have to go back to the footage that I shot crocheting this and then look at the color hook that I used. That's something that's really nice about having colored hooks, because I can always go back and see which color I used. But yeah, the sizing, I think I spoke about this in the last episode. The sizing of this pattern is not great because there's not really an indication of what the sizes mean. There's XS up until 2XL, but there's no information on what exactly that means. And I believe the designer is from America because the pattern also didn't contain any metric information. And there's no way, even with thinking that there is a particular XS, SM, etc. in America, there's no way that that matches the Dutch sizing. In any case, what it came down to was that I had to grade this myself, and basically what I did was I measured my front bust and then I crocheted a pentagon with a specific hook. I blocked it, measured it, and it seemed to fit. The last thing that I would like to mention is that I used Drop Spell, which is a DK weight yarn, 120 meters per 50 grams, and it's made out of 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen, and the colors are Forest Brown, number 25, and Sand, number 24. This yarn actually comes from the crochet hat that I was working on in the last episode. I'm done with that hat. I was struggling too much with single crochet. I have been getting better at it now though, but I've kind of lost interest in making the hat. So yeah, it's gone now. I'm at the moment just working on tiny swatches just to get my knitting ready to go once I'm on holiday. I'm not really looking to start blocking and swatching when I'm there, so trying to do that here, writing down all the info, so once I start I can just go. So there have been some small starts on projects here and there, but yeah, not really anything that I think I could substantially talk about. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you as always very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye bye!